Doki providing a voiceover Caitlin Clark has just appeared on Hollywood Boulevard with an enormous Nike billboard, and the timing could not be sharper. While certain players are chasing attention online just to stay visible, Clark is being permanently showcased on one of the most legendary streets on the planet. Angel Reese just saw her biggest rival light up Hollywood, and that kind of moment is impossible to ignore. This shifts the entire landscape. Clark hasn't simply reached Hollywood in the typical way many WNBA players imagine, like a brief movie cameo or a forgettable reality TV appearance. Instead, she's been cemented on Hollywood Boulevard itself with a towering Nike display that thousands of people pass by every single day. This isn't a random roadside ad tucked away in some quiet town. This is Hollywood Boulevard, home to the Walk of Fame, one of the most recognizable locations in the world. About how
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there?
Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Come on, guys.
Yeah, she can't make it from there. No chance.
Caitlin, from Lido, let? You got it.
I'm not even gonna ask.
Hey, Caitlin, from here might be impressive. Am I right?
Whatever, Che.
From right here.
From there!
From anywhere.
All right, well, looks like she can do it.
the display features Clark mid-play with the slogan, "You can't win, so win," as part of Nike's Super Bowl campaign spotlighting top-tier athletes like Jordan Chiles, Sabrina Ionescu, Sha'Carri Richardson, and Aya Wilson. The ad runs over Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love, with Grammy winner Doekiai delivering narration about how women athletes are constantly told what they can't do, and why they should do it anyway. It's a striking message, and Clark stands prominently as one of the campaign's central figures. And let's be honest about what that signals. Nike doesn't place just anyone on Hollywood billboards. They don't spend premium real estate on athletes who are merely talented but lack commercial pull. That space is reserved for rare figures, players who rise beyond their sport and become cultural symbols. Michael Jordan had billboards. LeBron James had billboards. Clark is now in that same conversation. Kobe Bryant had billboards, and now Caitlin Clark has one on Hollywood Boulevard. That's the level she's reached. That's the circle she's entered. Clark shared the moment on Instagram, posting several photos in Nike apparel with the caption, "You'll be told you can't do it, so do it anyway." It's vintage Clark, self-assured without sounding cocky, inspiring without talking down to anyone. Over the past few years, she's become remarkably polished with media, clearly understanding how to shape her voice, image, and overall brand. Nike's confidence in that image is obvious, placing her as one of the focal points of their Super Bowl advertising campaign. And this matters for reasons far bigger than just the novelty of seeing her face on Hollywood Boulevard, because Nike Super Bowl commercials aren't just ads, they're cultural events. The Super Bowl remains the most watched television broadcast in the United States every year, with brands spending millions for just half a minute of exposure, and Nike fully committing to women's sports during that window sends a clear message. They're signaling that women's athletics are no longer a side initiative or a goodwill gesture, but a serious, profitable space deserving major investment. Nike's chief marketing officer, Nicole Hubbard Graham, told Fast Company that women athletes are breaking records, filling arenas, driving ticket demand, and signing contracts at unprecedented levels, and the data backs that up. The 2024 WNBA season delivered its strongest viewership in nearly a quarter century. Games sold out regularly, and merchandise demand surged. At the center of that surge was Caitlin Clark. Her rookie campaign was historic by every standard. Multiple league records, Rookie of the Year honors, and an influx of millions of new fans into women's basketball. Viewers who had never watched a single WNBA game were suddenly purchasing League Pass subscriptions solely to follow her. Venues that once struggled to fill seats were overflowing whenever the Indiana Fever arrived, transforming routine matchups into must-see events. That's star power, the kind of influence that makes Nike decide someone belongs on Hollywood Boulevard. And now let's be honest about Angel Reese, because there's no chance she's unaware of that billboard. She saw it, and it almost certainly struck a nerve, even if only slightly. Reese and Clark share a complicated rivalry that began in college and carried into the WNBA. Reese has consistently framed herself as Clark's equal, sometimes even as the superior player, pointing to double-doubles, rebounding dominance, and championship success, all of which are valid accomplishments. She is a strong player. But there's a crucial distinction here. Being a high-level athlete and being a cultural phenomenon are not the same thing. Reese is a talented basketball player with solid social media presence. Clark is a once-in-a-generation figure who has reshaped the business, reach, and visibility of women's basketball. Those impacts don't exist on the same plane. Reese has put significant effort into shaping her personal brand and public image. She shows up on podcasts, attends fashion events, and consistently posts curated content on social media, clearly working to create an identity that extends beyond the court. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Athletes should take full advantage of their visibility while they can. But even with all that hustle, promotion, and strategic branding, Reese isn't the one landing Nike billboards on Hollywood Boulevard. And that reality has to hurt. The contrast is unavoidable and harsh. Clark is celebrated at NBA arenas. Clark appears on massive Hollywood billboards. Clark is featured in high-profile Super Bowl commercials. Clark holds the title of the highest-paid female athlete on the planet. Meanwhile, Reese is releasing podcast episodes and posting online. The difference in cultural impact and commercial pull between them is massive, and moments like this Nike billboard make that divide impossible to overlook. What adds another layer to this is the message behind Nike's campaign, "You can't win, so win." It's a slogan aimed at women who've been told they're not enough, that they lack the strength, talent, or ability to compete at the very top. It's about challenging assumptions and silencing critics, and there's no better symbol of that idea than Caitlin Clark, an athlete who spent her entire journey being questioned and then answering every doubt with elite play. She was told her shooting range was unrealistic, and she turned herself into one of the greatest deep shooters the game has ever seen. She was told women's basketball couldn't attract massive audiences, and she helped deliver historic ratings to the sport. She was told the WNBA couldn't financially sustain true superstars, and she rose to become the highest-earning female athlete on the planet. Time after time, she's overturned the narrative. That's exactly why Nike chose her as a centerpiece of their campaign. Sabrina Ionescu, who also appears in the ad, summed it up perfectly when she said women's sports aren't something coming later. They're happening right now. Visible in sold-out arenas, surging TV numbers, and fans showing up in ways we've never seen before. True influence isn't about making the most noise. It's about ensuring that when you take the stage, everyone is paying attention. Exactly, and that's the uncomfortable truth a lot of people don't want to say out loud. Angel Reese can stack double-doubles, dominate the glass, make all-star teams, and win individual accolades, and all of that deserves respect. But none of it automatically translates into global cultural relevance. Nike doesn't put billboards on Hollywood Boulevard to reward box scores. They do it to amplify athletes who move culture, shift narratives, and expand the audience of an entire sport. Right now, Reese simply isn't doing that at a transformational level. Look at the rest of the athletes in that Nike campaign. Aya Wilson is widely considered the best player in the WNBA and a proven champion. Sabrina Ionescu didn't just become a star. She helped redefine how women's basketball is marketed and consumed. Jordan Chiles is an Olympic gymnast with mainstream recognition. Sha'Carri Richardson is one of the fastest women on the planet and a global track icon. These aren't just successful athletes. They are dominant, culture-shaping figures at the very top of their sports. That's the room Caitlin Clark is in. So where does Angel Reese fit into that conversation right now? She doesn't, at least not yet. And that's not hate, disrespect, or dismissal. It's an honest assessment. Reese is a very good player building a solid professional career. Clark is a once-in-a-generation phenomenon who has fundamentally altered the economics, visibility, and popularity of women's basketball. Those are two completely different levels of impact. The Nike billboard is more than flashy marketing, it's validation. When Clark entered the WNBA, there were plenty of skeptics. People questioned whether her game would translate, whether the hype was overblown, whether fans would actually follow her at the professional level. She answered every one of those doubts with ratings spikes, sold-out arenas, record merchandise sales, and historic on-court production. Nike isn't guessing here. They're responding to data, demand, and cultural momentum. That's why her face is on Hollywood Boulevard. And that's why, for now, the gap between Clark and Reese isn't just noticeable, it's enormous. Exactly. And this is where the conversation stops being about rivalry and starts being about reality. Caitlin Clark didn't just survive the transition to the pros. She obliterated every talking point used against her. The physicality argument? Dead. The college game won't translate narrative? Gone. The idea that she was just hype waiting to be exposed? Completely erased. She didn't need time to figure it out. She showed up and immediately became the gravitational center of the league. And brands noticed. That Hollywood Boulevard billboard isn't a reward for potential. It's a receipt. As Nike publicly saying, this person delivers when the lights are brightest. Clark didn't talk her way into this moment. She played her way into it, night after night, arena after arena, ratings spike after ratings spike. That's why her face is representing Nike in one of the most visible advertising spaces in the country, and the Super Bowl ad matters more than people realize. Nike waited 28 years to do another women's sports-focused Super Bowl commercial. They didn't do that out of charity or wokeness. They did it because the math finally works. The audience is there. The engagement is there. The ROI is there. And Caitlin Clark is one of the clearest data points proving that women's sports, especially women's basketball, can command the biggest stages in American culture. That's the key distinction. Clark isn't riding the wave of women's sports growth. She's helping create the wave. She brought in new fans who had never watched a WNBA game. She turned casual viewers into League Pass subscribers. She forced arenas to open upper bowls. She shifted how executives, sponsors, and broadcasters think about the league's ceiling. For Angel Reese, the lesson really is that simple and that difficult. Visibility without undeniability has a ceiling. Self-promotion without cultural impact hits a wall. Instagram engagement and podcast clips can build awareness, but they don't force Nike to spend Super Bowl money on you. Only unavoidable impact does that. If Reese wants to reach Clark's level of commercial relevance, the path forward isn't louder messaging or tighter branding. It's becoming so dominant, so must-watch, and so essential to the sport's growth that brands can't ignore her. Clark reached that point. That's why she's on Hollywood Boulevard. And until someone else does the same, she's going to remain in a category of her own. Clark achieved that level. Reese hasn't. At least not yet. Maybe she will someday. Perhaps with a season so dominant it forces the conversation to shift. Maybe by winning a championship and becoming the defining face of that victory, elevating her cultural and commercial profile. It's possible. But as of January 2026, Caitlin Clark has a massive Nike billboard on Hollywood Boulevard, and Angel Reese does not. That visual gap says everything about their current standing in women's basketball. Clark isn't just a star on the court. She's a cultural icon, a figure whose influence extends beyond the game itself. Reese can claim parity all she wants, but the billboard doesn't lie. Nike placed their money, their trust, and their prime advertising space squarely behind Clark for a reason. And if you want more candid takes on women's basketball and the stories shaping the sport, hit that like button and subscribe right now.